Welcome back into the backup plan. We're counting down to one of the best and biggest nights of the summer as One Championship returns here on Prime Video for One Fight Night 13. We have stars that we all know and love and some stars that you're going to get introduced to tonight, helping us count down to all of the action that begins at the top of the hour. Welcome back in. Friend of the show, friend of the network, Curran Bhatia. MMA, boxing, mixed martial arts, combat sports. Our guy knows it all. He's getting us set for another big One Fight Night.
I like that. Friend of the show. I'm glad to be back. It's great.
Friend of the network. Come
friend
on.
of the network. Friend of the network.
Around.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we're doing our tradition now. We're previewing One Fight Night. It's One Fight Night 13. It's coming on right after this. So again, the official pregame show here.
Yeah, there we go. Official pregame show. We're excited to ask you so many questions. We're going to start with the main event here. We have Alizov versus Grigorian. They're battling for one kickboxing lightweight championship here. This is no small feat. This is a long-awaited trilogy between the two of them. So tell me a little bit about what we can expect between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. Alizov versus Grigorian. I'm pumped for this one. So Alizov is known as the greatest striker on the planet. Grigorian, known as the scariest kicker on the planet. So you have these two guys coming together. Plus, they have the history of being heated rivals. In addition, they both have had success against Superbon, who's a legend in this sport. Alizov took him out last time. Grigorian took him out it was a few fights ago, and he did lose the rematch. But still, if you watch that, it was an electric knockout. So I see two guys on a collision course. This is for the championship. I'm really excited about this.
I was going to say, it's so interesting because you have striking, kickboxing. Break down the difference between those two fronts.
Yeah, so striking, you can use hands, feet, and that's part of kickboxing, right? But there's a bunch of other disciplines in one championship. There's grappling, where you're grappling on the ground for position. There's Muay Thai, where you can use elbows and things like that. There's boxing. So there's a bunch of different disciplines. Striking is a part of that, right? There's also obviously wrestling on the ground. So there's a bunch of different things in one championship, which is what makes one championship unique. It's a little different than some of the other leagues. They have all of these different types of disciplines.
One thing that I found interesting about the two of them, this is no small rivalry. It's been going on for over a decade between the two of them. Tell me a little bit about the history between these two.
Yeah, I mean, they've both had success in the world of mixed martial arts. And the one thing you want to see against people who have had success in mixed martial arts is you want to see them come together under this same umbrella. So they're finally under the same umbrella of one championship. The fight was pushed back a couple times. Now they're headlining One Fight Night 13. So it's like that, you've been waiting for it. It's very specific to combat sports, because in other sports you have like a Super Bowl or a playoffs and a championship. But in fighting, it's a little different because there's contract negotiations, there's injuries, there's things that happen. This fight is finally coming together tonight.
Given the fact they've faced off against one another before, how comfortable are they with one another, right? Like, is there any new wrinkle that you can throw at someone you've faced off against so many times?
When you have a rival in combat sports, it's really interesting. It's about adjustments and what adjustments you can make to those adjustments, right? So you could come out one way that you did the first fight, and then it's all about, well, your opponent's expecting that now.
Yeah.
So what adjustments can be made in rematches and trilogies, and that's what we look for in combat sports.
Okay, so now I have to ask you about the co-main event. We got Darth Rigatoni, Mikey Musumeci. We know him, we love him, we talk about him all the time here on Prime Video Sports Talk. They're competing for the One Flyweight Submission Grappling World Championship. And I'm sorry, no, that's actually the description of Darth Rigatoni. How could I get that wrong? Now, what can we expect from the powerhouse battle tonight with him?
Yeah, so this is a huge fight with two larger-than-life personalities. Mikey Musumeci, we've talked about him before on this show. We've talked about his diet of one meal of 7,000 calories, trains for 12 hours a day. He's become larger than life in this sport. They call him Darth Rigatoni. So you would think, okay, that's probably the best nickname on this card. Well, he's taking on Jared Brooks. His nickname, the Monkey God. He got that because of his ape-like strength, right? So this is a guy from MMA challenging himself in grappling, and he's not taking an easy touch. He's taking the top of the heap here in Mikey Musumeci.
How big is this for American MMA fighters and the sport of grappling? Because you have Brooks from Indiana, Musumeci from Jersey. So in the middle of Thailand tonight, we got the red, white, and blue getting it on.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge matchup. Two Americans going at it. They're both at the top of the grappling game. The one thing is Jared Brooks is more of an MMA fighter. So he is representing America, so is Musumeci, but Jared Brooks wants to take on Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson in MMA. So this is his chance to test himself in grappling, see how that goes, but he knows that that prize of Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, is still out there.
Wow, that's going to be a tough feat for him to do that. We know, Mikey's a fan favorite. He's all about eating, the Italian cuisine, but also he calls himself Peter Parker. He's known to be a bit of a nerd.
Yes.
And then when he gets into the circle, he's like an entirely different personality, quite like what we see in, a superhero. How do you think this is really going to fare against him? Like, how do you think that Mikey's going to turn this on and make sure that he doesn't get the opportunity to compete?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because Mikey Musumeci has been battling demons his whole life. He actually grew up with severe depression, severe ADHD, and training in jiu-jitsu was a way for him to control that, right? He was able to find an outlet, and that's what led him to have the success that he's had. And he takes it to another level, and he's almost used those type of things as a superpower here. He doesn't take any rest days. He never takes a day off. Even on weekends, this guy is training. So he's found an outlet for himself, and I think the fact that he's out there, he's vulnerable, he's showing his personality, and that's why I think so many combat sports fans are falling in love with this guy. Mm-hmm. And this is just another opportunity. He's the co-main event, it's a big stage, and it's just another opportunity for him to continue to make his name.
Well, that's pretty impressive, right? Like learning how to manifest strength in other ways by building your body up. I have to ask you about the Supergirl.
Yes. Supergirl. So
19 years old.
19 years old. She's been training since she was 3 years old. She's an absolute phenom in her sport. But here's the thing. Last time out, she lost. And that can happen. And this was a war. This was a brutal war. So anytime you're a top-level competitor, you can lose if you're daring to be great. And that's what happened to her. So this is her opportunity to get back in the win column. And that's what makes it so intriguing, right? So many times with fighters, we say, it's okay to lose. It's okay to fall off. But how do you respond? And that's what we're going to see tonight.
Definitely excited to see that. Another person that I am personally so excited to see, Edgar Tabarez. Now, the last time we saw him was at One Fight Night 10 in Denver. He lost to Rodtang. There was a tough one to see, but I love seeing his whole family go out and support against him. I hope they're going to be there tonight in Thailand. Tell me a little bit about this matchup and what we can expect for him.
Yeah, it's actually really similar for Edgar Tabarez because this is his opportunity to come back from a loss. Now, the one thing I think he could do is look at his loss from Rodtang. You can go watch highlights of that. It was an elbow, one shot down. So that can happen in combat sports. Anyone can get caught at any time. It wasn't necessarily like a sustained beating where you're like, oh, I have to rethink my life choices here, right? One shot can always happen, but you do get a loss on your record. So it's important to build off of that, change the momentum, get back in the win column, and that's what he has that opportunity tonight. He's a fan favorite. He's brimming with personality, proudly representing Mexico. We've seen what he can do. He lives for this. He actually started fighting when he was 9 to ward off schoolyard bullies. So I just want to say, where are the schoolyard bullies now? You can meet him in the One Championship cage if you want. I don't think they're going to, but yeah.
That's definitely true. One thing that I thought was so interesting about when he was up against Rodtang last time, he said that when he was in the circle, he thought he was doing pretty well. And then when he said he went back and watched the tape of it all, he was like, oh no, I was done from the beginning. And it's so interesting to have that mentality when you're in the circle that you have to tell yourself you are still on top of this. You still have a chance no matter what. He was able to do that even though looking back, maybe it wasn't as good as he thought it was.
Yeah, you have to have that confidence when you're facing off in combat sports because you have another person coming at you, trying to punch you in the face, kick you in the face. So you need to have that locked in focus. And at the moment, he thought he was doing well. I actually give him credit for looking at tape and looking to make adjustments and say, hey, here's what I could do better, because the only way a young fighter is going to get better is doing that. So he's obviously, not only is he doing well physically in the One Championship ring, but obviously mentally looking at tape, making adjustments. This is what we want to see from young fighters.
All right, so we're a couple of minutes away from the start of One Fight Night 13. Your final thoughts on just this event tonight coming up soon, what we all can expect to see?
Yeah, what you can expect to see tonight is names that we've seen that have lit up the One Championship ring. We got Ty Ruotola's also in action, his twin brother Cade. They've lit up the world of grappling. There's a lot of names that we've seen before, and there's a lot of people who are, like we said, coming off of losses. This is their opportunity. Mm-hmm. A lot of times in combat sports, we say, this card is stacked. Well, I'll tell you right now, One Fight Night 13, this card is stacked, and I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a great showing of a lot of different people who get their opportunity to continue to make their name, and a collision course between people who are really hungry. So, I mean, this card has it all. It's coming up in a few minutes.
Curran, as always, told you, a friend of the show, friend of the network. Thank you for coming in tonight, my man.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. You do not want to miss One Fight Night 13. Just coming up here a little bit exclusively on Prime Video. But coming up, you might want to pay attention to us because it is trivia time.